You're watching this video because you're bad at driving a golf ball. Well, I'm going to give you the concepts that you need to get better immediately, and by practicing this on your own, at home, and on the driving range, I promise you'll start hitting the best drives of your life. The first thing that I see with most players that I work with is they're really trying to generate too much speed the wrong way in their golf swing. And what I mean by that is they're trying to hit driver as hard as they can. Once they get to the top of their backswing, they are using their shoulders to initiate this downswing, and it gets the club on too steep an angle, which isn't very efficient with driver. The best players at transition allow this club to work this way, and then once they get here in the process of the downswing, that's where they apply the speed through the ball. So you have to wait to go fast. A good friend of mine, another instructor, always said, you could only go fast once during your swing, and we would like it to be where the ball is. And so if you're going fast up here, everything else through the ball is actually slowing down. So learn to transition smoothly and use your speed at the bottom, and it'll really help you. On that note, I also think the best drivers of the ball know what their average carry distance is, and that is all they're trying to do when they hit driver. They're not trying to hit it their absolute farthest on every shot. If your drive carries 200 yards, that should be the only thing you're trying to do, is hit it 200 yards in the air and solid. If you can hit it 250, great, try to hit it 250. If you can hit it 290, hit it 290, but you shouldn't be trying to hit it 290 if you can only go to 200. And that's the biggest mistake that I see, is guys are trying to hit driver farther and farther and farther, and you've got to be honest with yourself as a player and know your game and play your game, and I promise it'll really make you a more consistent driver of the ball. The most important thing with driver is to avoid penalty shots. It's not to hit it a long ways. And if you'll have that attitude with driver, it'll really help your game. And that being said, one thing you have to understand, that if you look at a tour player, their swing plane, the angle of the shaft with driver, is somewhere between 44 degrees and 50 degrees for the best players in the world. And that's because here I've got 7-iron, here I've got driver. Those shaft angles aren't the same. So they'll swing a 7-iron around 60 degrees, 62 degree angle, probably with 7-iron. But with driver, they're swinging it at 45 degrees. And so you have to understand that as a player, and that'll help you a lot. Where I see most people have trouble immediately is they're not set up correctly. I talk in a lot of my videos about being the correct distance away from the ball and how important that is. Too far away is a bad thing, and too close is a bad thing. I get a lot of comments, but I've been doing this for a really long time, and frankly with driver I find that there's more people that are too close to the ball than too far away. And it's important to understand that since all our clubs are different, it's probably a better mistake with driver to get a little too far away from the ball than too close. And it's probably better off with your sand wedges to be a little too close if you're going to make a mistake than too far away. And so it kind of changes as you go through your bag. Close to the ball is really good, chipping and pitching and short wedges. But boy, by the time we get to a club that's meant to swing fast and hit it as far as we can, being too close to the ball really inhibits how fast you can swing the club. If I am too close to the ball, it's going to put the driver on too steep an angle right at address, and it's not made to swing on this angle. And I'm going to hit at the ball too high with too much backspin or pop-ups, or I'm going to slice it. And most people out there that are slicers think that they have an open club face. And you don't have an open club face most of the time. What you have is too much forward lean with the shaft at impact, where the handle is ahead of the driver. Therefore, it points to the right, and therefore that's where your ball is going to go as a right-hander. It's very important that we return to impact on this angle rather than this angle. And I see so much talk over the years about trying to create lag with driver, but the more you pull on this handle on the way down, the more that head's going to be behind you at impact, and you're going to have trouble either with pop-ups or slices. I see that a lot. And the biggest mistakes I see with driver with most players is they're too close to the ball, and they have the ball too far forward in their stance because they've been told to hit it on the upswing. And so they get the ball way too far forward, and now their shoulders are pointed open to their target. And once I get in this setup, the only way I can hit the ball is to get steep on the way down, and you're doomed from the very beginning. So learn to set up with the ball more back in your stance, with a good shoulder tilt where your trail shoulder is lower than your lead shoulder. And then also make sure that the butt end of this club points at your belt buckle at address. And that's a pretty good guideline for most players. It's not for everybody. There may be a few guys that are really tall that might be a bit closer than that measurement. It might hit them up here on the thigh more. And gosh, guys with big bulky chest and short arms, they might be better off being far enough away where it just barely touches their knee. So experiment with your distance away with driver and find the spot that's best for you. Another thing that's helped a lot of my players is to understand that, frankly, with driver, trying to create lag for most players that are habitual slicers is a mistake. I like for players to feel that as this club is on the right path on the way down, that once they're about here, I like to feel like the handle of this grip starts to work up very early in the downswing. And as this handle works up, it makes the head go down, and that's what squares this club up at the bottom. And so if you're up here trying to generate speed with your shoulders, and somebody's told you to use a pulling motion to pull that grip down, well, that grip's going to be traveling past the ball, and you're not going to be able to release the club head correctly. So I like to feel as this club's on plane on the way down that once I'm approaching the ball about this time, this shaft's going to start to work up. And as that works up, the club head works down, and it's going to get back out in front of me and hit straighter shots. If you've never had that thought before, try it. I bet it'll help a lot of you. And a lot of people will listen to those last comments and say, well, I'm casting the club when I'm doing that. Well, you're not, because if I get it on plane on the correct way down, I have this angle here still established with my lead arm in the shaft. And as my arms are rotating and that's coming up at the same time, that's not a cast. A cast occurs at the very top of your swing, where this is the first thing you do with your hands. So that would be too early to do it, and that would get the club into too steep a position on the way down. But from my starting point at the top, if I can get in this position first and then feel the handle come up, that's the correct way to deliver a driver club head to the ball. Another reason why most of you are bad with driver is you don't swing the club head on the correct path. It's usually too steep, and for a right-handed player would swing outside in that direction. And once we do that, the steeper you are, the more open the club face has to be on the way down to hit a ball somewhat straight. There's a couple of simple drills that I like to do with driver to get people to feel that the club swings more around them as they're swinging. When I'm steeping over the top, the club head is not swinging around me, it's going this direction. And the best drivers of the ball the club will swing around them in a circle and it'll look more like that. So a great exercise over the winter in your backyard is to simply start with the club parallel to the ground, keep it parallel to the ground around you, and turn with it with your shoulders, and then gradually lower that angle so you can just feel that club head swing around you until you get to the ball level. I tell my players that tend to hit balls to the right if they're right-handed under pressure, that if they get on a hole where right's a disaster, that's out of bounds or a lake, I like them to make that swing around themselves just to feel like that before they hit a ball. So if they've lost 2 or 3 balls already to the right during the round and they get on a hole where right's really a lot of trouble, I like them to make those little bitty swings like that before they hit a tee shot, and I recommend it for you as well. The other thing that you can practice at home is to get a target line, and I've said this in quite a few videos, but when the shaft's parallel to the ground, it should be parallel to the target line, and that happens here, and it happens over here on this side on the way through. I'll show you that through swing again. So after I strike the ball, this club would be in this position after I hit it. When I'm outside in, that club's parallel to the ground but away from the target line, and then I would be low on my finish and parallel over here. Really good practice, parallel the ground, parallel the target line here, and just make these simple swings and learn to feel that bottom of the swing halfway back and halfway through will really help your driver. Hey, so the next time you go practice, here's your checklist for improving your driver. Make sure you're set up the correct distance away from the ball. Make sure the ball's not too far forward in your stance. I see a lot of players left of their front foot. So make sure the ball position's in the right place and you're the correct distance away from the ball. Make sure that your right shoulder is lower than your left because your bottom hand's lower than your top hand on the club. That'll get you behind it. Make sure at your transition that you get the club in this position before you try to go fast. I like feeling the handle of the club starting to work up early in that position. And then also, make you some level swings to the ground and feel this club head swing around you, and then blend it down till you get to the ball, and it'll really give you a sense for the proper plane to swing a driver on. I'm sure you're bad at driving for one, if not all of these factors. So go to the range, work on these things, and I promise you, you'll improve considerably with driving the golf ball.